Amara had been playing in this building for 3 years before she understood whose building it was. She knew the lobby the way a working musician knows a stage wing, by function, not feeling. She knew where the acoustics softened near the east corridor, where the light turned warm before a performance, where the donors gathered with their champagne before the hall's big nights. She had passed through that lobby 1,000 times with her violin case on her shoulder and her scholarship card in her pocket and never once stopped to read the brass plate above the staircase. Tonight she was early, which was how she came to be standing just inside the east corridor when the man in the worn coat walked through the front door. He was black, perhaps in his 60s, with the careful, unhurried way of someone who has long since stopped needing to prove his urgency to anyone. His coat was old but clean. His shoes had been resoled more than once. Under his arm he carried a battered wooden box, walnut, the kind a person makes with their own hands and keeps for a long time. He came through the glass doors into the warm lobby light and stopped to look around, the way a person looks when they are checking that a place is still the way they left it. He had not taken 3 steps toward the guest registration desk when Petra Dahl moved to intercept him. Amara had seen Petra Dahl precisely 3 times in 3 weeks, which was how long the new front-of-house manager had been on the job. She was efficient, organized, and, Amara had noticed, very clear about which people in a lobby belonged to which category. She cut across the marble floor now with the particular stride of someone who has already decided. "Excuse me." Her voice was not raised, but it was not a question. "The reception this evening is a private event. Is there something I can help you with?" The man looked at her with the same patient attention he had given the lobby. "I'm here for the reception," he said. "Calvin O'Say." "I'm afraid this is a ticketed donor event," Petra said. "The entrance for the general public is on the Henley Street side. There's a cafe." "I'm not the general public," he said, still level. "My name is Calvin O'Say. I believe I'm on the list." Petra's expression did not change, which was a particular kind of expression. "I'll need to ask you to wait outside while I—" "You're welcome to check the list," he said. He said it without impatience, the way a person makes an offer they have made before and expects will be declined. It was declined. Petra stepped to the side and said something to the security attendant near the door, a young white man, new, who looked uncertain, and together they began, with gestures and low voices, to guide Calvin O'Say toward the service corridor that ran alongside the main hall. Calvin did not argue. He did not raise his voice. He walked 2 steps in the directed direction, then stopped, set the wooden box on the ledge of the guest registration desk, placed it there squarely, deliberately, and stood beside it. "I'll wait here," he said. "While you check." Petra said, "Sir." "My name," he said, "is Calvin O'Say. I'll wait here." He stood with his hands at his sides, composed, in the warm lobby light, with the box on the ledge in front of him. He was not going to be hurried. He was not going to be made to shrink. He simply waited, in plain view, in a building he had come to in good faith, and let the silence do what silence does when it is held by someone with nothing to hide. Amara, 22 feet away in the east corridor, did not know who he was. But she watched the lobby go quiet around him, the caterers slowing, the junior staff glancing over, 2 early arriving board members turning from their conversation, and she felt something she could not name yet. The particular gravity of a man who knows exactly where he stands, even when the room does not. It was 4 minutes before the executive director appeared. Dr. Eleanor C. had run the Ashwood Concert Hall for 11 years. She came through the interior door with the quick, searching look of someone who has just checked their watch against a name on a seating plan and found the name missing. She scanned the lobby, and then she saw him. She crossed the floor faster than Amara had ever seen her move. "Mr. O'Say." She was already extending her hand. "I am so sorry. We've been looking for you inside. I thought perhaps," she stopped, reading the situation in Petra's posture and the position of the security attendant and the location of Calvin O'Say, which was not inside. "What happened?" Calvin said, simply, "There was some confusion about whether I was on the list." Dr. C. turned to Petra Dahl. The look she gave her was not loud. It was the kind of look that is worse for being quiet. Calvin set the wooden box on the registration desk and unlatched it. He did it without flourish, the way a person opens something they have opened 10,000 times. Inside, in a fitted recess lined with green felt, lay 2 things, a folded document, cream paper, heavy stock, with the Ashwood Concert Hall seal embossed at the top, and a printed program from an opening night a decade ago, its cover worn soft with handling, hand-signed in a column of ink along the margin. The document was the original endowment deed. The program was from the Hall's inaugural performance. And at the top of the margin, above every board signature, above every institutional name, in the same careful hand that had made the box, were the words, Calvin O'Say, founding donor. The security attendant read it from 3 feet away and stepped back. Petra Dahl read it from 2 feet away and went very still. He funded the endowment, Dr. C said, and her voice was quiet with the weight of it. 11 years ago. This hall exists because of Mr. O'Say. His name is on the scholarship fund, the instrument loan program, and the plaque above that staircase. She paused. He is the reason you have a job. Amara looked up at the staircase. The brass plate above the first landing read, in honor of Calvin J. O'Say, for every child who deserves to hear music. She had walked past it 1,000 times. Dr. C took Calvin O'Say's arm and walked him through the interior door into the reception herself. Before she did, she turned back and spoke to Petra Dahl in a voice that the lobby could hear. Please go to my office. HR will be with you shortly. We will be revising the guest verification protocol before this hall opens its doors tomorrow morning, name first, list checked, before any guest is asked to move anywhere. She looked at the security attendant. Every guest. Every time. Then she and Calvin O'Say walked through the door into the warm light and the sound of the reception beyond. What happened next, Amara told the second-chair cellist about a week later, was not what she expected. She had expected applause, or at least noise, the kind of vindication that announces itself. What she got was something quieter and more permanent. When Calvin O'Say walked into the reception, the room went still for a moment. Not in confusion, in recognition. The board members who had known him for 11 years crossed to him. The young musicians who had never met him turned, because Dr. C had stopped in the doorway and said, simply, ladies and gentlemen, our founding donor, Calvin O'Say. And then they understood what the scholarship on their paperwork meant, and who had made it possible, and the room rose. Not in performance. In the simple, unrehearsed way a room rises when it has been reminded of something it should have known all along. Amara stood in the east corridor doorway with her violin case and watched it happen. She was thinking about the plaque she had walked past 1,000 times. About the scholarship letter with his name at the bottom that had sat in her apartment for 3 years. About the fact that a man who had given this hall everything he had come to the door tonight in a worn coat with a hand-built box and had been asked to use the service entrance. She thought about what it cost him to simply set that box on the ledge and wait. Petra Dahl was placed on administrative review the following morning. The Hall's board approved a new front-of-house verification standard within a week, name confirmed against the filed guest list before any guest is redirected, without exception, and posted it at every entrance desk. The protocol took Calvin O'Say's visit as its founding case. In the reception, Dr. C found Calvin a seat at the board table, brought him a glass of water, and introduced him to the 17 scholarship recipients who were there that night. Amara was one of them. She shook his hand. She did not have the right words, she was 22 and had just understood something large, but she held his hand in both of hers for a moment, the way her grandmother had taught her to hold the hand of someone you owe more than you can say. Calvin O'Say patted her hand, set his wooden box under his chair, and stayed for the whole evening. The box stayed closed. It had already said everything it needed to say.